Rutgers basketball back in action on Monday night, Martin Luther King Day at Penn State, Happy Valley. Always an interesting game for this program. Some up and down moments there. Obviously, home court advantage is a bit suspect at Bryce Jordan Arena. But this is also a team that Rutgers beat about a month ago at the RAC. And both teams right now are going in opposite directions. Penn State, after a hot start, 12-2 start in the year, 2-1 in Big Ten play, have lost their last 4. 3 have been away from Happy Valley. They have some injury issues. This is obviously a huge opportunity for Rutgers to continue their up streak here. 2 wins in a row, looking for number 3. And let's be honest, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Rutgers. They're going to face Michigan State at the Garden next Saturday. Michigan State won again on Sunday against Illinois. Huge win for them. They're going to potentially be top 10 in the country when that game takes place. And they're not, they're number 13 in KenPom right now. So a high quad 1 opportunity. This is a quad 1 road opportunity. Once again, they beat Nebraska on Thursday. Rutgers has to stack wins right now. If you look at their schedule, I mean, a lot of people think, they got to go 12-8 in the Big Ten to really have a good chance to make the NCAA tournament. They're 3-4 right now. And you look at their schedule, I mean, they have road games still at Oregon, at Michigan, and at Purdue, right? You have home games coming up soon against Michigan, Illinois. You have the Garden game against Michigan State. I mean, you have to win. You're going to have to pull a rabbit out of a hat in a couple of those games. Those are going to be big-time upsets as it stands now. So everything else, you have to win these types of games. It's a tough game, but it's an opponent you beat. It's an opponent that's beat up a little bit. It's an opponent that's reeling. And Rutgers playing with a lot of confidence. And they need to win this game. Saturday at the Garden is going to be electric no matter what. But if they go in there on a 3-game winning streak against Michigan State on national television with a chance to then have a winning record in Big Ten play against a team that Michigan State hasn't lost in the Big Ten, that's a huge statement opportunity. But it's going to look that much better if they can win at Penn State. Talking about the Nittany Lions, they're without Puff Johnson. He hurt his hand last game, so he's going to be out. Ace Baldwin has been banged up. He has, his last game he played rather well, but he missed the game. Against Illinois, he barely played. He didn't score. Just looking at the game log here in terms of his action. He's the straw that stirs the drink for them. Illinois just played 15 minutes, 0 points. Missed the Oregon game in which Penn State lost by 1 at home. Their only home loss this season. And then they played at Michigan State. They lost by 5. They played really tough. Ace did play pretty well in that game at 20 points. Was 11-12 from the line. Had 9 assists. One of the best assist rates in the country. Did have 6 turnovers. Rutgers did a really good job against him. It was his only Big Ten game aside from the Illinois game where he didn't score double figures. JaMychal Davis did a tremendous job on ball defense on him. He was just 3 of 14 of shooting in that game. Only got to the line once. That was huge. He did have 7 assists, but 3 turnovers. Had a bunch of steals in that game. Was in foul trouble as well. So what's his health in terms of his back? And how can Rutgers, can they replicate that type of defense on Ace? JaMychal Davis, J. Will maybe a little bit. Durkak, Penn State's going to have some type of adjustments. In that first meeting, Dylan Harper was fantastic. Rutgers played that first half against Penn State. They were tremendous in terms of what they were able to do and played as complete a half at the time that they had up until that point. They struggled a bit in the second half, but they were able to pull it out. Dylan had, 24 points, 12 rebounds in that game, 5 assists, 2 blocks and steal. Ace came along. He had 15 and 15 in that game. They did the dirty work in that game, and that was key to see. And then you had a lot of bench contributions. Lathan had 6, PJ had 6, Acuff had 6, Durkak had 9, J. Will had 8. A lot of complimentary scoring in that game. What was key in that game is Rutgers shot 55% from 2 in that game. Penn State was just 47%, and they're one of the best 2-point shooting teams in the country. Right now, shooting 56.5%, 38th. So Rutgers has to defend the paint really well in this game. They have to defend the rim. You've seen signs of that lately. Agbole has been very good off the bench the last 2 games. Somerville hasn't given them a lot the last 2 games and starting. They need more out of him in this game. But this is the type of thing where if Rutgers can really get rolling, can these new roles really continue to show consistent production? The bench was fantastic when they came in the game against Nebraska in terms of moving the ball. They need to replicate that offensive game plan that they did against Nebraska in terms of moving the basketball. Penn State, defensively does not do great against teams that move the ball. In terms of, assist rate, in terms of what they allow as a defense, they're just 356 nationally in terms of assists to field goals. That's the worst in the country, 256 or maybe 358 teams. So if you pass the ball against Penn State, you're going to get open looks, and teams convert when they move the ball against Penn State. You have to share the basketball the way they were swinging the ball, just being in terms of sharing the ball, but also just facilitating. Ace was a willing passer against Nebraska. They look to ran. They need to look to run in transition in this game. If they get space the floor in transition, they were effective against Nebraska, and forcing steals. Turnovers is really, it's always a huge key, right? But Penn State is fantastic at forcing turnovers. They're 21st nationally with a 22% turnover rate. They also don't turn it over a lot. Rutgers is 43rd nationally in terms of not turning it over. Offensively, they've been pretty good. I like this new starting lineup, with Acuff out there. He had a quiet game the last game, but he brings them poise early in games. Rutgers has gotten in trouble when they turn it over early and they fall behind and in a huge hole. They've had games where they have 7-8 turnovers in the first 10 minutes of the game. They cannot do that in this game or they'll get punished. And in terms of just, being smart, being strategic, Dillon was able to get downhill. Penn State will probably have some type of adjustment where they double him. The screening action against Nebraska was so much crisper, so much more active in the half court. The way they were attacking J-Will on the baseline, they need to be smart in this game. They're going to get some 3-point looks in this game. Can't replicate 12 of 29 every game. Rutgers in that first meeting from 3. Penn State, was pretty effective with Zach Hicks. He's the dead eye. You have to have a defender on him at all times. Outside of him, Penn State's pretty average, even below average from 3. Rutgers in that first meeting was pretty good. 8 of 22 from 3. Dillon was 3 of 6. Acuff was 2 of 4. PJ was 2 of 5. Overall, 8 of 22 for a team. One thing you won't see in this game versus the first game, Rutgers got to the line 25 times in that first meeting. Penn State just 9. Could be a flip of a script, on the road in this game. Rutgers didn't really take advantage of it. They were just 14 of 25, 56%. It might have been their lowest percentage all season, but they dominated on the glass. They were plus 14 in this game on the glass. They had a ton of assists. They did have 14 turnovers. Penn State had just 6. So can they force? Penn State had 9 steals in this game, including 4 from Ace. So maybe it's going to be less active on defense with that bad back. But Rutgers has to be, strong with the basketball, smart. They need to be able to, they need to be active in that half court. They need to work Penn State's defense, deep in the shot clock. Make them work on defense. Don't give them a break. Take quick shots, bad shots, contested shots. Get out in transition when you can and defend the rim. Force Penn State to shoot more threes outside of Hicks. And, in terms of, Niederheiser, is their big 7-footer. Rutgers has to be strong with him. He's had some good games. Rutgers was pretty good with him. He had a little bit of foul trouble. You get him in foul trouble. DeLeon gave him a ton of trouble that first game. He had 14 points on 10 of 12 shooting and, didn't have any turnovers, 3 assists. So he's another guy that, Hicks, DeLeon, and Baldwin are really the 3 biggest concerns from an offensive perspective. DeMarco Dunn's been hot lately. Had a big game against Michigan State. He can light it up. We know him from Temple. 6'5" guard. Penn State's got good size. They're not particularly deep. So Rutgers, obviously that bench, in terms of what Davis, I mean, he's still going to come off the bench in this game because Pikel, when he wins, he doesn't change up the starting lineup. He's probably going to see Jay Will on Baldwin early, but I would not be surprised to see Davis in there pretty quickly, especially if Baldwin is, getting hot at all. But you need contributions from everybody on the road. And obviously Dylan and Ace have to do the bulk of the scoring, but you got to hit some shots. They really need Acuff to score in this game. You need Jay Will to score in this game. You need Somerville to score in this game. And then, guys like Davis, Agbole, they got to bring it defensively. Agbole's got to bring it on the boards. Rutgers has to dominate on the boards again. They can't give up second chance points. But this is a game, that first 5 minutes, they have to bring the energy. They have to bring the focus. They have to execute the game plan. And they have to, once that bench got into the game against Nebraska and they were sharing the basketball, everything seemed to click offensively for Rutgers. And they need to come out with that mindset with that first unit. Obviously, Dylan Grant's been tremendous. Did not play in this first game. That's an X factor. He brings them so much toughness. He brings them fiber on both ends of the court. He's been really efficient offensively. And they need contribution from him once again. And they just have to play smart basketball. This is a game they can win. This is a game they need to win. And boy, would it bring serious momentum into the Garden on Saturday against Michigan State. Snowy Sunday. Enjoy it. Amped up for this game. 6:30 Monday night on the Peacock streaming. And you know what? We'll see what happens here. But this team's got a real opportunity to get to 500 at Big Ten play, get another Q1 road win. You got to stack road wins here. Like I said, Oregon, Michigan, Purdue still to come on the road. This is a game you got to get. Michigan State at the Garden, then Northwestern on the road. I mean, there's real opportunity to make a run here, and you got to do it now. Thanks so much for listening and watching once again here at the Scarlet Faithful Podcast.